Hey everybody, it's Daniel here from InfoRes. Hope you're all doing well. So, did you guys see what happened on Friday? Massive sell-off. Did any of you get scared about that sell-off? Especially after Trump tweeted that he's going to go all out on putting 100% tariffs on China. All to then just later, a couple hours later throughout the weekend, and even today to pull back on those ideas. I said that we're still meeting President Xi, and we're still going to negotiate and think about certain things. Now, when Trump went out and posted that message on, I don't know what you call it, on tweet or whatever you want to say, but it wasn't on Twitter, it was on Truth Social. When he went out on that, you had the massive reaction in all risk assets. Basically, stocks fell, crypto fell, bonds went up, and it looked something like this, where we had a massive plunge in the equity markets. When you look at it more on a shorter time frame, it looks scary, but if you look at and measure, it was just about a 3.84% drop. Now, this was Friday. We did have the futures market open Sunday. We did gap up, and being Monday today, we're on the positive side, definitely, but still having a tough time to move up higher as the deadline for those tariffs is basically November 1st. So the question is, are we going to see the markets kind of just, trend sideways, or are we going to brush it off? Is some new information going to come? Are we going to hear this escalate? Are we going to hear that, it was just all, theater, basically? Now, China did come out and they did say that we don't want any of this mess and we want Trump to back off, and we don't want to get into any of this hot mess and start creating another tariff war, trade war, especially when, data and the economy is not as hot as it used to be back in 2021. Now, I'm sure both sides will feel the same way. The US, China, and so forth, right? Would want to see some sort of positive negotiations and things to not crumble so fast, especially with the US government in shutdown mode right now. So, how do I look at all of this? Well, first, technically, when you look at the charts on a daily, the S&P 500 did plunge nicely to the 50-day moving average, and we did buy back. We are in kind of the middle of this candle here. Personally, I don't think, now this could change 100%, I don't think things will get ugly to a point where now it will continue to sell off further. I think it's done. And as we've learned from the past, Taco Trump always chickens out. And we will see him pull back, especially with, if you think about it, the Trump sons and everyone are quite heavily invested, especially the Trump sons, into crypto. And the crypto markets had a completely big meltdown, especially with the altcoins. I think we heard later on that before the sell-off happened, there was someone who made a new account and made somewhere around $80 million shorting the crypto markets before the news came out. We heard, I think there were some rumors, or I don't know if this is confirmed, but BlackRock buying Bitcoin on that plunge, $5 billion. So, I mean, you can argue whatever you want, but at the end of the day, the incentives are there and the buyers are there to want to buy the dip and continue to bring the markets higher. And what's so funny is, especially with all the government shutdown that's happening, the markets do continue to melt up higher. And the markets are actually doing well without the government. So, and we're seeing it just in the price action here with S&P. So as long as nothing comes out in a disastrous way, I think we just shrug it off like we've seen it in the past, and we continue to move up higher. Now, I don't know what's happening in terms of the positioning as the government is still shut down and we can't really see the COT report. So until then, we can just wait until they come back, until we get the data, and we can just see what price action is doing. And we're seeing that the S&P is ticking back up here as geopolitical tensions ease off. Same thing with NASDAQ, right? We got that plunge and then we're picking back up. We got the Russell doing better and almost back to price level 1 here. The Dow, same thing. And what this basically tells you is that rotation, right? Russell is the one performing better than the other indices because money's flocking into stocks that are not so high, elevated, right? Not so too bubbly. And the opportunity still lies in the Russell. Like I've been saying, you got this double, triple top here, and we could break out higher as long as things remain normal. So, you know, should we be worried about this crash or this sell-off? Are we going to see a crash? I'm still optimistic. The trend continues to hold, and would like to see, markets go back to price level 1 and continue to move up higher. In terms of other markets, like I was talking about, Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin also had the meltdown, but we saw other coins like Ethereum, Solana, Ripple had a big sell-off. And then you look at other ones, really small coins, altcoins, that had a complete disastrous sell-off, right? Like TON, for example, sold off all the way to like 64 cents, right? Now in these, and if you bought that bottom, that's about 300% return. But in that kind of scenario, it's very difficult to capture something like that, especially if you've got algos or other big players and market makers not filling you, but filling other players and bigger institutions, scooping it up and pushing it higher, right? We saw Dogecoin also, sell off basically all the way 10%, right? From the 24 cent mark. And, from the bottom, that's like 123% gain right there. What other coins? There were many ones out there, but you could see that in the magnitude, this for the altcoins and the more riskier one, we did see quite the aggressive sell-off. But we're back, we're back to normal, somewhat halfway there in the markets, and risk assets are green today. We got the VIX pulling back after spiking. Bonds are still elevated. The long end less versus the short end, as remember, we do have the Fed coming up in the end of the month, and gold continues to melt up higher. Gold continues to rip higher, further and further, break new all-time highs. Silver doing the same thing. And again, totally normal. It's okay to see these assets perform as the markets go up, right? A lot of the metals doing quite well. So anyways, I go more in detail on the other markets. If you're interested, feel free to subscribe. You can check out the link in the description for the private Discord chat room. And let me know what you guys think. I don't think this is anything to be so crazily, to panic over. I think it will eventually subside. I think you definitely still want to be careful and be dependent on headlines and news. And, we'll see how it goes. And until then, I think the bull market continues. I think the craziness and the bubbly feeling continues. and this could go on until maybe December, and maybe slow down in January of next year. So yeah, that's all I have to say. Let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment below, subscribe, hit the like button, bell icon to be notified next video, and I'll see you guys around. Cheers. Bye.